the duties of the body, says Chovos Halevavos, cannot be complete, cannot be even enacted without the ratzon of the leiv. That is, no, you are not going to take an action unless you make a decision to act. You won't find yourself one day strapped with tefillin and you go, oh, I wonder how that happened. Your body is not going to start performing mitzvot on its own. That's the kafkafim section over here. You can only sit here if you're wearing flip-flops. Or these...
Notice that. Oh, no.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Documented. And there, kids, you see, when I was in yeshiva, people wore those type of... We didn't have those funky shoes you guys wear. We had to wear this. So, the entire process of kiyum mitzvot of the body, the fulfillment of our obligations to Hashem, doing mitzvot with our body, requires the nefesh and our heart to want to do them. You ever wanted to do something and you couldn't? That's possible. But it doesn't work the other way around. Your body wants to keep Shabbos, but your nefesh or your heart says no. Get the phone. Grab the phone. And the body's like, I'm not moving. Get the phone. And your body doesn't move. Could that ever be? That you have complete loss of control of your body? No, chas v'shalom, God forbid. And so, what Rabbeinu Bachya ibn Pakura is telling us is that the process of chavot ha'evarim, the duties or the mitzvot of the body, are secondary to the chavot or the duties of the heart. They are prime. They come first. They come first. And so he says, if we would think that our hearts do not have to select to make the free will to serve Hashem, then you will see that your body would not fulfill any of the mitzvot. Why do most people don't keep the mitzvot? Honestly, because they don't want to. The first step is to work on the will. And if you don't work on the will, the body's not going to follow. And so therefore, the Creator created our body and put the neshama in the guf. He obligated our different body parts to fulfill mitzvot. But the body, for it to do mitzvot, you have to be in the parsha. You have to be willing and wanting to do the will of Hashem. Otherwise, no mitzvot are going to get performed. Is that a clear point? To me, it's such a basic but important idea of the relationship between what's happening inside us and what's happening externally. That we have... What is that? Is that a little human being? Is it being tortured? I thought we don't torture babies on Thursday afternoons. On Wednesday we have sushi. Yes, gentlemen, we have sushi at Ohr Somayach on Wednesday afternoons. It's being served exactly from 5:15 to 5:18. Because in 3 minutes the whole thing is gone. Now, Jeremy, like, really? I didn't know that. I always take off early.
No, I'm with Leskin.
Oh, with Rabbi Leskin. Tov. So, our complete, perfect avoida requires both parts to be aligned. That our will, our ratzon, our neshama, our nefesh, is fully aligned with the body to fulfill the ratzon of Hashem. That's what we need to have the best form of service to Hashem. Now let's ask ourselves, what happens if we can't have the best? What's the second best? What if I don't feel it? I don't get it. Should I go through the motions? Or should I first get the desire? You know, everybody's putting on these things on their heads. Should I put one on? What do you say? What would you tell a friend says, and what's the point?
You can
What?
always have a frisbee.
You could always have a frisbee. Okay. Okay. Anybody else? There's like nobody here, right? This is what you're trying to show, like that people at home don't. They think that I'm speaking to a camera and one guy named Andrew. But there's a good 600-700 people. I'm kidding. I have a GIF that I used to describe the attitude of the students of Mechina to Shiurim in the afternoon. And if you want to see what I selected, I'm happy to show you off camera.
Send it to the chat.
No. Because some people say, hey, where did Rabbi get this photo of me? So, gentlemen, it's a real question for every single Jew, because, and even if when we're on different levels in our path, okay, so that you could have somebody who's been Shomer Torah and Mitzvot 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, but sometimes he's like not into it. Not into it. You'd rather stay in bed, get up for Shachris. Not today. Or you tell them, oh, it's Hanukkah again. Hanukkah, Dreidel. Come on, man. What would you tell a person like that? Should he light the menorah? Should he go through the motions? Or should he wait until his ratzon is there? What would you tell him? Do the mitzvah. But I don't get it. Why?
You may get it during the course of doing the mitzvah.
Oh. Sometimes the goof can spark the neshama. Sometimes the goof can spark the neshama. We all want that the ratzon and the neshama and the goof are fully aligned. That the feeling of praying to Hashem, David, comes to you and you want to do it and the body is ready for it and you just, you fly. But sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes you don't feel like davening right now. I don't want to daven mincha at 12:55. I'd rather do it at 3:45. Where do they go and change it for? So I won't say it's not a battle. It is a battle. So that sometimes we have a ratzon, but the body is just not playing along. Right? You go to sleep late, and the alarm wakes you up in the morning for shachris. Right? The alarm rings, you look over, it's 9:30. Like, yeah, I want to get up for shachris. But then your body doesn't play along with you. It just lays there. Right? And you hit the snooze, and you, with one eye, look and you see your roommate is still asleep. Like, I'll see Rabbi Kaplan later. Sometimes the body doesn't want to play along. So what he's saying that the perfect way of serving Hashem is those two components are fully aligned. And in order for them to be fully aligned, you have to work on both components. You have to make sure that the body is healthy, that the body gets enough sleep, gets good nourishment, gets everything that it needs, and that the mind is relaxed, that it has the will to serve Hashem. And those two pieces together produce the perfect Oved Hashem, person who serves Hashem. But if you only stuck with one, it's going to be an uphill battle. And it doesn't matter which one. The body doesn't mind lighting candles. There's something about looking at a flame that relaxes us. Right? People get pleasure from three things. It says, I think it's a statement from the Kotzker Rebbe, of watching a flame, watching water flow, and the third, watch other people work. What's wrong? Did somebody die? What? You're what? You're going like, Rabbi.
I was ready for him to post something out of his pocket in my pocket. He was like 50% low.
I don't think he was fishing. I think he was doing something else. That's why I was going to say, put your hands where we can see them. Mr. Flip-flopper. So, now he's going to bring rayas, evidence from the Torah, that we have an obligation to fulfill the duties of the heart. He doesn't have to prove to you that there's duties of the body, because we know that there are. Mitzvot, tzitzit, tefillin, learning Torah. We went through this in previous shiurim. But now he's talking about the actual mitzvot of the heart. So he says the first one, ואהבת את השם אלוקיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. Isn't that a mitzvah of the heart? To love Hashem? Then he brings other mitzvot, and to לאהבה ולעובדו בכל לבבכם. You shall serve him with your entire heart. Heart means mind. Everything. All your energy to serve Hashem. He says, after the Lord your God, you shall go and you shall fear him. Fear is also inside. It's not a body. You can't tell the hand, fear God. Moshe, you're looking at me like, do you understand what? I was working at home in the mirror for the proper, how is that going to look? But you tell me it flopped completely. All the rehearsals with the timing and the whole thing didn't. I'm hoping somebody at home got it like, oh wow, I never thought about that. Don't smile, Yosef. You don't have to laugh at the jokes. It's okay. This is the Tisha B'Av service in the middle of Mar Cheshvan. Zayin Mar Cheshvan, gentlemen.
Tonight.
What do you mean tonight? Isn't today's Zayin? Tonight? Okay, tonight.
Is that why Mishmar is having a special thing tonight?
Every Mishmar is special.
So,
Every Mishmar is special. Tov. Now, we have a mitzvah that everybody loves to quote. Yitzchak quotes it to me all the time, 3 times a day. V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You have to love your fellow Jew like you love yourself. How can you do that if it's not a mitzvah in your heart?
you have to love yourself
You have to love yourself?
first.
You have to love yourself first. Okay. Is that it? It's true. Do you love yourself? Really?
Maybe
No.
a
A
little too much.
little too much. That's why you keep your hands out of your pockets. I don't know, with those shoes, it doesn't look like you love yourself enough. Okay, so Yira, Ava are examples of duties of the heart. And when you have mitzvahs lo ta'aseh, these are prohibitive. It says, lo tachmod eshet re'echa. You should not covet your neighbor's wife. Coveting is desiring, not doing anything about it, but the etzem thought of, I really want that house. I wish that house was mine, or his field, or his servant, or his donkey. Lotikom, lotito, we talked about it yesterday, not to hold a grudge. Lotito and lotikom, don't seek vengeance. You shall not have hatred in your heart for your brother. We're not allowed to hate other Jews, even though they're annoying. There was a famous historian of the Holocaust. His name was Yuda Bauer. So he once started a lecture saying, Jews are like everybody else, but even more so. Good mitzvah. V'ahavta l'recha kamocha. You share water with him. Now, it also says we have a mitzvah that focuses on it's kind of hard to explain. He says that the entire avodah of Hashem, there's a pasuk in the Torah that says, because this mitzvah that I'm commanding you today is not far from you. It is not in the heavens to say who shall go up there to get it. It's not across the seas that you're going to say who's going to go across the seas and see it. But rather, it is karov elecha davar meod. It's very close to you. How close? Pasuk says, in your mouth and in your heart to fulfill. La'asos. Which means that we see that the Torah needs to be infused in us. It needs to be part of us. We need to live our life not with the social categories that we get in the West or the East, but from the categories that the Torah gives us. I was in a market once, and this little girl took a candy, brought it to her mother, and said, "Is this kosher?" And the mother said, "No." So the daughter took it back and went like, There was no argument. She wasn't like, well, I want this candy. No, it was like, not kosher, it's over. That's how a Jew thinks. Right? They bring food, ask, what's the hechsher? People ask me, Rabbi, do you go overseas? No. Why not? Because I don't like to figure out what I'm going to do with food. I have friends that when they fly to Europe, they bring tuna cans and schnitzels. I said, I'm not flying with schnitzels in my pants. I'm not, forget it. If they have food, I'll go. But if they don't have food, forget it. They have a shul there, they have minyanim, yeah, fine. That's how we think. We have to think ahead. We're going to go to Carmiel. Okay, so wait, we need mincha. No, before we leave, we should daven mincha. So then we don't have to worry about it. Because Ma'ariv, we'll find Ma'ariv over there. Those are categories. I'll give you other categories that need to be part of your Jewish nature. You don't touch things that are not yours. Unless you know it's hefker. If you don't know it's hefker, don't touch it. There are people who, whenever they see something, they start touching it. Like, why are you touching it? Is it yours? No. Well, why are you picking it up? When somebody put something somewhere, he put it for a reason. If he wrote a little sign that says Hefker, go ahead. This is a long time ago, This may be 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I was invited, I don't know why, but I was invited to give 8 hours of lectures. See, it's true. To Chinese students. So I asked, okay, what are the topics? They wanted 2 topics. Talmud and Orthodox Judaism. They wanted 4 hours of Talmud and 4 hours on Orthodox Judaism. So I said, okay. Michael, do you mind opening that window? Because it's a little stuffy in here. Thank you, sir. So, fine. So I spoke to Rabbi Breidowitz, like, what could I can't teach him Gemara inside. You know, what am I going to do? Open, I don't know. So I say, what we decided was I'm going to give them a summary of every Masechet. Just on the outside. We have Masechet Brachot. What is Masechet Brachot? About the blessings and prayer. And next. Shabbos. Shabbos is about all the laws of what you can do and you can't do. Okay. I got to Eruvin. They couldn't understand what the heck I was talking about. What's an Eruv? Oh, that you put a string around this. Like, what? Okay, somehow that passed. We got to Yavamis, the whole room erupted. We said, like, what? You have to marry the brother-in-law? Okay, then I wanted to show them an example of a Mishnah. And I gave them a Mishnah from Elu Mitzias of finding lost objects. So I gave him a case. I said, imagine if you are in Shanghai and you find a bag in the street. A bag in the street. What would you do? So they all very unison, like one voice. We call the police. Why would you call the police? To get this bag back to the original owner. But how would you know who the original owner is? Silence. And I said to them, now there's a translator. So I'm speaking in English and she's translating the Chinese. And the hard part was that they spoke without moving their lips. So I'm watching the audience and it's like, who's speaking? Which one of them is talking to me? So, okay, so I'm telling them, I'm saying, no, somebody put the bag as Hefker. He doesn't want it. They could not understand the concept of Hefker. The translator, who was Chinese herself, explained to them, trying to explain to them, like, no, in Israel, that's what happens. She says, I have kids' clothes that my kids, outgrew. And so I go to a certain place and I just put it there. And families who are interested, will like these clothes, they will take them. That's what people do. That's what we do in Israel. And they looked at her as if she were crazy. And she was Chinese like them. But they couldn't understand the concept of Hefker. Whereas for us, people tell me, there's certain ledge in the dorms that's Hefker. Anything that you put there, Hefker. Correct? What if you left your wallet there by mistake? Hefker? Even with the money inside?
2 seconds.
Because of your ID.
People leave their phones there all the time. Like, there's always stuff left there. I mean, I don't take any of that stuff.
We should put a sign up
If it
there.
has an ID in it, then it's
If it has an ID, then what?
probably not Hefker.
It's probably not Hefker. What did you want to say?
I said we should probably put a sign up there saying this ledge is Hefker.
Everyone knows.
Well, the ledge is not
But
Hefker.
then they'll take the sign.
Yes.
No, that's accurate.
Making brachas is something that you should get accustomed to. Think this needs to be part of who you are. Nothing goes into my mouth without a bracha. I got to a point where I watch like a video and that our people are eating, and I'm like, they didn't say the bracha. It's just part of, I can't, like, where's the bracha? I'm waiting for it. Because it's so natural, right? You go to the bathroom, netilat yadayim, and you make a bracha. It needs to be, that's what needs to be on the inside. It is part of our neshama, part of our heart, part of our mouth. That's how it is. That we judge favorably. We judge favorably people no matter what. Something looks odd, it's like, okay, figure this out. Yesterday I was riding the train going home. So I got on the light rail, and then these two guys from a certain Spanish-speaking country, they were worried that they're going to be part of this video. So I promised them they will be, and here they are. So they get on the train, and the train is usually full, and they want to hold the door for people. Okay? And they're holding the door, and the driver says, "I got the door." And so they did one station, I said nothing. I was kafschut. They did a second station. Did I say anything on second station? No. They did it on the third station. I said, that's it. Because I'm going to miss my bus with these two guys. So I said to him, hey, let the door go. So he said to me, we're doing chesed. Now that's true. They are doing chesed. They are doing an act of loving kindness to the people who are trying to get in. But you're doing chesed on the cheshbon, on the account of everybody who in the train that you're holding them up. Correct? Do chesed when you're not causing other people gezel. Gezel zman. Yes. It's nice to do chesed, but you can't do chesed on my cheshbon and then expect me to pat you on the back. That is, we also have to have the concepts of chosh and mishpat, of the laws of ben adam lechavero as part of our being, so that we know what to do and what not to do. No? When people start learning how serious it is, the laws of lashon hara, what usually happens, they clam up. They don't want to speak. They don't want to say anything. They're afraid anything they'll say is lashon hara. And so they come to the rabbi and say, Rabbi, something happened I don't want to say. And it's something like, wait a second. I'm telling you, you could tell me what exactly happened with the people. It's not lashon hara. No, it is. Oh, you're right. So I don't know lashon hara laws. You do, and you're going to. Now people think I'm talking about them. I'm not. It's the other guy that I'm talking about. Right, Moses? Very good. So it needs to be the Torah. The Torah needs to be part of who we are. It has to be on the inside, the Chovot Halevavos, so that it will be part of the outside, of the way that we behave, the way that we use our mouth, and the way that we use our body. It's a holistic, the total picture. That's what the Torah requires. And he says, when it became clear to me that the Torah does command us to invest in fulfilling the mitzvot of the heart, I wanted to see, is it also in Chazal? What is Chazal? The words of the rabbis, the Chachamim. And so he says, I started looking at Chazal and I found it. It says in Sanhedrin, Rachmana liba boy. What does the Kadosh Baruch Hu want from you? He wants your heart. He wants you to do it with your heart, with your ratzon. He doesn't want you to do it like this. Oh, what? No. He wants you to want to learn Torah. Not that the rabbis have to chase you. Hey, guys, 3:00. You should want to, because this helps you. I need a nap. So hard. We went to class from 9:30 to 10. So, it says in Yerushalmi, Liba ve'ena treisar surah dechato aninhu. The Gemara in Yerushalmi says that the eye, and the heart are the ones that cause us to sin. The body doesn't sin by itself. Sorry, Shaya. It doesn't sin by itself. There's something that's happening on the inside that creates or gets that snowball rolling. And that's what we have to work on. On the ayin, but the lev is first. The lev. If you have a pure heart, pure neshama, then you're not going to be prone to sinning. But if inside it's sort of rotten and impure, then that's going to be reflected in your behavior. That's what the Yerushalmi says. In Masechet Avot also, it has a lot of different Mishnayot, he says, that talk about the duties of the heart. And he said also, I saw in the Torah, it says, B'makeh nefesh bishgaga, that if somebody who harms another Jew accidentally, bishgaga, not on purpose, he's not chayiv death. And somebody who is shoygig b'mitzvahs, shelo ta'asena, but if he is shoygig in a mitzvah that is a lo ta'aseh, that he's forbidden to do, and if he did it, he would be chayiv. If he did it willfully, he would be chayiv death or kares. And so you see, it really means that the heart and the body have to do the sin together in order to be fully punished. It's the leiv and the goof together. The leiv has the intention and the goof is with his action. And if that's the case in punishments, that you don't get punished unless the leiv and the goof are connected, then it's also the same in the mitzvah. If your heart and your goof are not connected when you do the mitzvah, chas v'shalom, you might not get credit for doing the mitzvah.
So then should you do a mitzvah if your heart's not in it?
Well, the question is, if your heart isn't in it, how do you get your heart to be in it?
To do it anyway and then see.
That's what Nike said. Just do it. Yes. Just do it. Or in some cases where the Torah says, don't do it, just don't do it. Just don't do it. But I want to understand the why and connect. Okay, there is the why. You will get connected. It's going to take time. You're talking about a 3,500-year tradition. With a tradition that invests tremendous amount of time learning. Just imagine if we had to calculate the hours of learning from the time that we received the Torah till today. How many human hours were invested in learning Torah? Of all the Jews that lived, all the Tanaim and the Amoraim and the Geoinim and the Rishonim, how many hours? You want to understand that in a month in Mechina? The Stipler Zatzal said, if you want to know something, that is, have a good idea what's going on in the Gemara, you have to spend 10 years learning 12 hours a day. After those 10 years, you'll actually know something. I'm not there yet. I haven't learned 10 years, 12 hours a day. What about you? We're not alive yet, 10 years, 12 hours. Okay. So, There's very, 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 very important idea here. He's saying that whoever does a mitzvah and that he did not have intention to do the mitzvah for the sake of Shamayim, he does not get rewarded for that mitzvah. There's that opinion. He gives a source for it. I haven't found yet where he's giving the sources. But I do want to see the source for that for you. Is it here? No. No, maybe it's on the back. Yeah, it's on the back, maybe. So we're on Lamed Daled. Yeah, so he says, he brings an interesting note here that the Meiri wrote that there's an opinion that we said mitzvot don't need kavanah, that we don't need to have the intention to fulfill the command of Hashem. We could just, that as long as we do the act. But the Shulchan Aruch says, no, we paskin that mitzvot do need kavanah. But if you don't do it with kavanah, eino mekabel schar v'gemul tov al asiyata. You don't get rewarded for doing the mitzvah. Okay? So that's this is where the source. And also the Ramban, he brings the Ramban, that in order for when you're bringing, for example, korbanot, you have to have the actions of the person as you start in machshava, then there's dibur, and then there's maaseh. That you have to have all three of them work together in order to repair the sin, the damage that was done. So we see that he's bringing that idea, and we find it also in the Meiri. Now, so he says, it's clear that the duties of the heart is in the Torah, it's in Chazal, in our tradition. But he says maybe it's something that we are not always obligated to keep. Maybe it's like the mitzvah of Shemitah. Shemitah is when you have a 7-year cycle, and the 7th year the land remains fallow. You don't work the land. You don't plow. You don't do anything. Or Yovel, right? So Yovel means that when you count 7 cycles of 7, so machloek is whether the 49th year or the 50th year is called the Jubilee year, where the land, again, rests, but all property returns to the original owners. All the slaves go free. That's called Yovel, Jubilee. And since the Jewish people don't live in Eretz Yisrael, all of them, we don't have Yovel. So Yovel can only occur when all of the Jews live in Eretz Yisrael, just like it was the time when they entered from Mitzrayim. And the last example on Korbanot. Korbanot are sacrifices. Can you offer sacrifices today? No. Why not? We don't have Beis HaMikdash. Now, there's people who say, yeah, but you can still build a Mizbeach and offer. The problem is that we can't really build a Mizbeach up there. Might create a little bit of a problem with those guys who... those dudes. Cousins. Cousins, technically. Cousins, you always have this one cousin that you're like, I don't know how he got in here. Unless you're the guy. You're that cousin. You're that cousin?
Am
I don't know. I don't know the rest of the family. When I meet everybody else, then I say, nah, he's okay. They're all the same like him. So he's not that cousin.
So is Shemitah an example of
something that is not It's not all the time. It's not like Kriyat Shema.
But
That's what he's giving an
you
example.
have a kavanah to do Shemitah, or you just do it?
No, he's giving an example. He's asking a different question. Mitzvot tzrichot kavanah. So why aren't you plowing? Because it's Shemitah and Hashem said leave the land. That's the kavanah. That's the idea. But if somebody doesn't just say, I'm not plowing this year. Why not? Okay, so technically he is fulfilling the mitzvah. But he doesn't have the intentionality to actually do it l'shem shamayim. But that's not what he's bringing in these 3 mitzvot. He's bringing these 3 mitzvot. These are examples of mitzvot that we don't have them today. So maybe the duties of the heart used to be a mitzvah, but just like Jubilee and Shemitah and Korbanot are no longer relevant today, maybe they are not relevant either. Maybe V'ahavta le'arecha kamocha was only back then. Now, right? Try to get your tenant to pay the water meter. Now, obviously, the answer is going to come back as, of course not. We know where he's going with this. But he's asking a question because he's going through all the tzdadim, all the different ways that you could answer this question. So he's saying, is it possible that the duties of the heart are only for a set particular time or certain conditions? And when those conditions are not around, then they are no longer relevant. So, for example, we don't have Beis HaMikdash, we don't offer sacrifices. What do we offer instead? Prayers. Kol hakavod, Moshe. Prayers. For the Korban HaTamid in the morning, we offer Shachris. The Korban of the afternoon, HaTamid, we offer Mincha. And the Ivarim and the fat that goes on at night, it's Ma'ariv. Not bad. And what do we do for the sin offerings and all of that? We use confession. We say, Hashem, can't bring a korban, but please, forgive me. Tov. But he says, when I looked in the Torah, I found that we actually are obligated all the time, without any breaks. For example, believing in God, it's not like, we believe in God Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we don't have to really believe in God. It's Explore Hinduism Day. No. The mitzvah of believing in God is all the time. As long as you're awake, you can fulfill that mitzvah. Believing God is one. Does that end? Like we believe God is one only from 2 a.m. to 7 p.m. Outside of that, free to go. We can believe that God is not one. Of course not. It's ridiculous. No, only in the winter we believe God is one. Summer, he's not. No. That's not going to work. He continues and says that fearing God, we only fear God on Elul, and Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur. After that, woo! Party! Mapito. The fearing of God is constant, should be on us all the time. Loving Hashem. Do we take a break from loving Hashem? Imagine if you get married. Do you have to love your wife? Yes. Could you say, but for the weekends I'm not? No, I'm going to love you Sunday to Thursday. But Thursday night, Mishmar, after that, from Mishmar till Sunday morning, you're over there, you go over there, and I'll be over here. And she starts crying and calling her mother. Now you're busted. Then they call the rabbi, and the rabbi calls you to his office and starts. Where'd you get this idea? It's like Rabbi Matalon, Yeshivat Ohr Somayach. It was in the class. No, that was just an example of a fool. There isn't a time that you're not supposed to love Hashem. If you're going through a difficult time, does that mean you don't have to love Hashem anymore? Absolutely. But what if you don't like matzah? So I don't have to love Hashem because I don't like matzah and he's sticking it with these crackers?
Just get the soft matzah from the...
Get the soft matzah. We're Jews. Okay? Take it easy. Hey. Hey, we don't eat tortillas on Pesach. Soft matzahs. Have you ever tried those? I have a Yemenite neighbor who gave me one to try. I felt bad that he spent the money on the, I wanted to pay him for it because it was
It's better to make them yourself.
inedible. He made it himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was inedible. Get this away from me. Crackers. I love Pesach. I love matzahs.
Indigestion.
Only for you. Toughen up, Buttercup. Not all of us are, but you're right. I mean, that's why it took us 40 years to cross the desert. They were eating matzah, so, they had to. What?
I said we were constipated.
Some of you, yeah. And the others like, come on, let's get going. Though I think that there is such a desert syndrome among Jewish people. Whenever I go to the beach and we see like sand, we start wandering around. Like, we're going to put our stuff. Who cares? Just put it down. It's like, no, we walk over here. Like, we're back in the desert. Lose our bearing. Okay. So, although we're kidding, but he's asking a serious question. And we realize that no, the obligations or the duties of the heart are constant. They're all the time. And we can fulfill those mitzvot all the time. Are we allowed to have Tuesday hate day, where you can hate somebody? Friday vengeance? That's where we seek revenge? Of course not. That is, if it's the Torah forbids us from harming people or hating them or having a grudge against them, then it's all the time. There isn't a time where that mitzvah is lifted. And then he says something like this. The example is that an Eved, that his master commanded him to do two things. One of them is in the house and the other one is in the field. Okay? And he told him that in set times he has to do this or the other. So which means that whatever it is that either if he does something on the inside, it's one thing, but when he's outside, he does the outside work. So it depends where he is. But you see that he has to, even if he doesn't have any assignments in the house, he's still a servant to his master. And that's who we are. Even if there's no mitzvah for us to do, we have a relationship with our Kadosh Baruch Hu, that we are his servants. We are his children and he is our father. And Be'ezer Hashem will be zoichet to la'avod oto in the most perfect way and make him happy. Thank you.